when I tell you that the collection of people that are here for the next 2 days is beyond my wildest dreams. My relationship with Rob Panarello is, he was originally my boss. I've known Rob for about 25 years. When we started together, Rob was working 3 jobs, 1 paid, 2 volunteer. He was working with Coach Parker at the Giants, at Giant Stadium. He was the head strength coach at St. John's, and then he was the area manager for the physical therapy company that we both worked for. In 1999, we decided to open up Professional, and this facility and this conference is something that we've dreamed about, or dreamt about, for over 20 years. To have the collection of speakers that we have here today, quite honestly, there's not another person in the country, maybe in the world, that could have pulled together this collection of individuals other than Rob. So I couldn't be prouder to be putting on this conference. At Professional Seminars, we do conferences all year long. We do one big conference like this a year, and this is the greatest collection of knowledge in the field of strength and conditioning, speed development, plyometrics, that maybe's ever been put together. And that's truly a credit to the relationship that Rob has with our panel of speakers.
You know me worth anything except wearing out the telephone line a little bit. Through Al and Don Chu, I spoke to Al Vermeil on the phone for about 7 years before I finally met him at a conference. And he's been nothing but a wealth of knowledge and so many other things that he's helped Al arranged for myself and Charlie Francis to work with him to consult with the Rams one off season. That's my biggest regret as a strength and conditioning coach, is not spending more time with Charlie Francis. But through Charlie, I met a guy named Derek Hansen. We've been close for the last 15 years. And so my point to you is this, is that you have the opportunity today to meet these gentlemen who will welcome you. And they truly are legends. And I can promise you I wouldn't be the physical therapist or the strength coach that I am, whether I'm good or I'm bad, without their influence. And it's not about the X's and O's. They teach you how to work with people, with their people, and they are truly legends. And so I just want to kick this off by saying I thank every one of you, most importantly for being my friend. And I don't think you can say anything better than that. You all truly are great men. You've taught me humility, you've taught me how to be a good coach, and you've given me knowledge and done things for me that you didn't have to, and I'm appreciative of that. So what I want to do now is just introduce Coach Vermeil, who in my opinion, and no offense to anybody in the audience, including my good friends, is the best strength and conditioning coach, the most knowledgeable guy in the country, and I don't think anybody would argue with that. All right, so Al Vermeil.
We were at Bulls and we were having someone question whether we should have people squat and all the BS that you get from certain people. And Rob's knowledge and input was very helpful. And all the gentlemen, he talked about John and Al and Derek and Don Chu, those guys are great and you're going to get a lot from them. And it's just my pleasure to be here today. And those gentlemen taught me a lot, including Dan right there, Rob. And all of us are a reflection of the people we got to be around. You talked about Charlie Francis. And I tell people, if you want to learn to understand training, get his stuff. He doesn't come out and tell you how to do it. But if you read it carefully, it will be very helpful to you. All right, today I'm going to talk about power. One of the things I want to say, all right, this is probably the first coaching conference that you've ever came to that most of the panel's average age is deceased. Now, who knows CPR here? Who knows it? All right, you're in charge of that. You got a cell phone?
Yes, sir.
You get 911 on speed dial. I just want to make sure we're covered. Yeah, that's my good friend Mike Matone, great coach. That's my son, there. I'm trying to create an impulse. And think about that. That's all sport is. You don't have what made Ronnie Lott so freaking good. He didn't. If I was gonna, where's someone? Get some guy. Come on up here, son. Now, if you're gonna hit somebody, I'm not gonna hit you and kill me. But if you see good tacklers, good jump. Michael Jordan, not a bad player. They come in and tackle. Lott would be here, and boom! He didn't get here and go, oh, yeah. He created an impulse. And I'm going to talk about this through the whole talk. If you've got youngsters, I mean 10, 11, and younger, if I did one exercise, it would be ankle jumps. Where's the guy that did all the ankle jumps for me? They're like, what are you sitting in there? Son, I thought Sal taught you better. We got Pete Alosi here, and I was out with Pete and Sal at UCLA and do an unbelievable job. Sal does a great job. One of the best things that go on, he coaches them up out there. There's none of this, oh, will you please come over here? You think, coach? Okay, now just do some ankle jumps. Oh, come on. That's it. Now let's go ahead. Don't stop. Keep going. Now keep going. Let it go. Okay. Oh, you stop. Yeah. Good health smarter. Keep going. Now keep going. When you do that and let go, they'll jump higher. I wouldn't start kids there. Why is that what I would get done? That's an impulse. Once they can create that, everything you do above the knee is going to add to it. If they can play and they can run fast, can they jump high? Yeah. If they can run fast, can they jump high quickly? Yes. So, can they play? Can they run fast? Yes. If that's all you did, you can start training. Yeah, you start like in the work capacity. Now, we did other tests, but can they play and they run fast? Well, all right. Compare back squat to Olympic lifting. guy can squat a house and he can't clean 50% of what he squats. He's either got bad technique or you're not explosive. Why keep squatting? Huh? Well, that's what we read in the book. Or I read this guy and he said you need to squat 4 times your... I see some people make some statements that are just asinine. They obviously have no experience in sport, but they're good at BS.
Next up, good friend, Hall of Famer legend, and that's why he's here. That's all I'm going to say. Al Miller.
Thank you, Rob. Appreciate it. First of all, let me thank each and every one of you for being able to come out here today to listen to what we have to say. And some of the things that we have learned down through the years, I appreciate it. I know a lot of you have to come great distances and make great measures to be able to be here. We certainly do appreciate it. It's very rewarding to us. I think just a few minutes right here, right now, I want to thank, first of all, Rob Panarella for making all of this possible. And, we go way back and, we keep alluding back to the old stories, but it has grown over time. But to see what they have created here, and if anybody ever really wants to know a good success story about, how you can go from this in America to something like this in America, you need to catch up on the Rob Panarella story. Been a tried and true friend down through the years. Answered probably more questions about our personal health than he has anything else about, athletes and so forth. But what we say today is not in an adversarial way. This is just strictly something that we've done, we've achieved, and we're trying to give you that information, trying to be able to create things for you in your mind that you can go back and create better athletes, have a better program, change a little bit, make you think a little bit more, make you try to understand why am I doing this. Being able to come up with the right things to be able to do, to make the players better, you can win more games, you can stay gainfully employed. Okay? That's the thing right there. That's what we're trying to do is teach you. That's why hopefully you're here. To where you can push forward. Al showed you pictures up there about getting into the correct position. I learned this from Lauren Seagrave, is that you've got to be in the right position to apply the force into the ground. Many people, just like Al talked about, is that do not know how to get themselves in that correct position. So what do? Get in the right position, boy. Well, wait a minute. I don't know how, Coach. Well, get in the right position. But I don't know. So what you do is teach them wall marches. Wall marching, very simple thing. It teaches good rhythm, teaches the ability to be able, who can and cannot get that body. Now brace yourself, big shot. Get a better, there you go. Now I'm just gonna lean here, dash, big old strong piece of meat here. And I'm gonna be here. Now what's wrong with my stance now? If I'm coming off on that ball. My hips are high, aren't they? Okay? Now dash, I'm just going to just gently do this right here. Get to that position. I didn't push anymore. I just took my body and moved it down to there. You felt the difference transfer. Thank you. So the thing is, I'm in position now to where I can do it. And so what does that necessitate? What? Come on. Barker, I'm trying to warm them up for you, but I tell you what, they won't talk. You've got to be able to have the strength right in here, as Al talked about, the core, So I've got to be able to get right here. If not, then everything is up in here, and then the low back, and then the high glutes. If I'm in here, now it's like doing the jumps and everything. It's all tied together. Be right here to be able to move it that way.
And another New York Giant was there named Perry Williams. I was a D-back at NC State. And Perry was a hell of an athlete. And while Johnny was off somewhere and Sims was working with this young quarterback, Perry looked at me and said, it wasn't Parcells that won us all those Super Bowls, it was Coach Parker. So, you know, I know Coach Parker and the rest of these coaches were loved by those players, and to me that statement said a lot. So, without further ado, Johnny Parker.
Here's what I want to talk about today, is that in 1987 or 1988, Rob and I were trying to figure this out. We can't remember for sure. But I heard through the grapevine that there was a Russian coach, weightlifting coach, that had come to America. And I kept calling people that I knew, asking if they knew anything about who this was, where he was. And finally, after several months, I found out he was on my doorstep. He was over in Staten Island, and I was over there in East Rutherford. So I was able to then further track him down. His name was Gregory Goldstein. Back during the time of communism, instead of independent countries, Russia had 13 or 15 states. He was the coach for the Republic of what is now Belarus. And as Mr. Goldstein said, because he was Jewish, he could never become the national coach of the Soviet team. So he brought his family to America. Well, when I first met Mr. Goldstein, it didn't take but a couple of minutes for me to realize, man, we'd struck gold. This guy was like nobody else I'd ever met. And at the time, my two best friends in the profession were Rob and I. Now they're just best friends, period. But I immediately told them, boy, just how lucky we got here as a resource like none we ever had. So Rob and I would meet wherever Mr. Goldstein was, either at his home in Staten Island or at the Jewish Community House in Brooklyn, Bensonhurst, Brooklyn. Then we started having weekend seminars at Giant Stadium. And Al flew out from Denver, I don't know, 3 or 4 times for these weekend seminars. And we all agreed that what we learned from Mr. Goldstein was the best thing we'd ever learned. And that it gave us a competitive advantage. And that we didn't want to share it. This is somebody we really had an obligation to. Well, now that Rob, he's still a teenager, and Al was probably in the 3rd quarter of his life, and I'm in overtime in mine. I would say sudden death overtime, but I don't like the way that sounds. we don't want this knowledge to die with us. Now, Mr. Goldstein taught us a lot of things, but the most valuable thing was the planned and the systematic variation of the body. You try it. Now, I want to ask you a question. You don't have to answer it. Do you do what you say you do? Now, here's what I mean by that. Mr. Goldstein had us each bring a program in for him to analyze. And when we got them back, I tell you, it looked like they were bled or something. There was so much red ink all the way. No good, no good, too much, too little, not good exercise, just all kind of things. Well, also, this is what really got me, is that I have, for my whole career, preached the values of free weights, and particularly squats and cleans. So, doesn't it stand to reason if you personally think that the exercises that are the most valuable, shouldn't your training reflect that? Shouldn't you be doing more of those exercises than any other? I think so. I think so.
There's just as much as more injuries with bench pressing as there is overhead pressing. What else happens when you're excessively fatigued? Well, your scapula turns inward. It doesn't tilt backward as much, so it's more anterior tilted. And what you're doing is, and you're rotating. And so you're closing down the space, the subacromial space, because your acromion is attached to your scapula. So your acromion is lowered, your head of your humerus rises, and so the chances of something happening are pretty significant. But it's based on, unless there's a pathology that you're aware of, it's all based on excessive volume, which produces excessive fatigue. It is not the exercise. Same way when you're so fatigued and you start to flex when you're in the hole of a squat, right? Bad squatting. I used to have a partner who's a power lifter and an Olympic lifter later on. Just decided it was time to move on. And he went to a gym, put 405 on a bar because he wanted to keep his bench press while he was Olympic lifting. Did 3 sets of 5 at 405, was fine. Some guy was spotting him, said, "Oh, that was great, you have one more set left in you." So he said, all right, he was done, but he got talked into doing that 4th set. Did rep 16, 17, and tore his pec on rep 18. So was it the intensity? No, because he just did 405 17 times. It was too much volume. It was the 18th rep, and he tore his pec. Volume is the bigger culprit than intensity. If you think about it, when your players go to set a PR, how many of them blow out their knee? How many blow out their back? How many of them blow out their shoulder? They generally make the lift, or they miss the lift. You're 6 weeks, 8 weeks into your program. My back hurts, my shoulder hurts, my knee hurts. Because they weren't prepared, or either they weren't prepared for the volume to prescribe, or the volume prescribed was just too excessive for them. And that's generally what you get. People don't usually blow something out trying to PR.
He is the only person in the country that is in the Collegiate Strength and Conditioning and the National Strength and Conditioning, National Athletic Trainers Association Hall of Famers. Who's in a Hall of Fame as a guy in rehab, who's a Hall of Fame as a strength coach. That's pretty, to me, that's pretty impressive. I told you before, there's a point in time he coached more 7-foot high jumpers than anybody in the country with recruits that were not at that potential. So, again, just another legend. The reason why we named the course this, Mr. Don Chu.
I think I'm on, yeah. Okay, it's good. Well, welcome to Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey's last seminar for the year. Okay? We had all the lions and tigers on before me, and Al Vermeil and Al Miller are 2 of the finest, to say the least. And so I'm just kind of here to mop up the ends, and then we've left the youngest guy for the last. You know, those rookies, they get kind of kicked down the ladder. But at any rate, I'm here today to talk to you about plyometric training, which is something that is near and dear to me. Obviously, Rob mentioned the fact that I coached high jumpers, and you might be wondering, how does a guy who's an athletic trainer become interested in high jumping, or how does he get there? Well, I happen to be at a Division II school, which, you know, you were lucky if you got a ham sandwich on game day. And the idea was that my roommate at the time was a guy named Jim Santos, and he was coaching at the college. He was the head track and field coach, and I was his office mate, and he invited me to a seminar. And he said, I got Bernie Wagner from Oregon State coming down to do a talk, and Bernie's going to talk about this new Fosbury flop technique that is sweeping the country in track and field. So I said, okay, I'll go up and listen to him. And Bernie gets up and he says, I don't know how the guy does it. He says, I absolutely have no idea how he does it. In fact, we were at a meet at Fresno State, and I told him if he didn't win the goddamn high jump, he was going to have to go back and be a Western rower. And so, fortunately for Fosbury, he went on and won that meet, and then went on to set a world record and win an Olympic medal at the Olympics that year. But at any rate, I sitting in the audience, just like all of you would have probably done, I said, you know, there's got to be a reason why this technique is successful, and I'm curious as to why it works. So I went home and I dug out my biomechanics books, threw them on the table, started reading and sort of formulating ideas on why this would be effective, and came up with a system that I thought would work. And so I went back to Jim the next week and I said, Jim, I said, let me coach your high jumpers this year, and if I don't do a good job, you can fire me at the end of the year, and I don't take any offense to it. And he said, okay, go ahead. So I took and I recruited a high jumper from one of the local high schools who actually turned out to be very good. He became my first 7-footer, and he almost made the junior national team and did really well. And the next year he was killed in an auto accident. So we went to the conference meet, and we lost that conference meet by a half a point. And what was really disheartening about that meet was I had taken a basketball player and I had coached this kid up in the high jump and the long jump so that I thought he could get us at least a point. And he could have, but he didn't show up. So I hated that son of a bitch from day one, and I still hate him. And you know what? Years later, I got my revenge because I was in my office, somewhat like this setting, and he came in to fix my phones. And I said, no, get your ass out. You are not fixing my phones. Tell them to send another service repairman out here. I hate that son of a bitch. He cost us a championship. And so at any rate, that's kind of how it started. And then after that, after the loss of the conference meet, I said, this will never happen again. And I went out and I recruited 4 kids in the high jump, 4 kids in the long jump, 4 kids in the triple jump. Some of those were the same kid. But at any rate, it went on, and 47 All-Americans in 3 events later on, and 17 national champions, and we had quite a reputation for the jumps. And people said, well, how do you do it? Because, you know, if you want somebody to listen to you in this country, you simply have to win. If you win, everybody wants to know how you did it, because it's a copycat situation. So what happened is I started lecturing on high jump technique, and everybody's like, whoa, this is really interesting. So all that work I'd done in all that plyometric research or biomechanical research and stuff started to pay off. And then I started looking at training techniques, and this was back in 1968 when all this started. And in 1968, you might recall, it was the Mexico Olympics, and the Russians were just kicking the crap out of everybody in the world, and particularly the United States. And the United States had a training system in those days that consisted mainly of the Universal Gym. You remember the Universal Gym? Some of you old farts probably do. The Universal Gym was a multi-station machine that we all exercised at, and that was the in vogue way for training athletes at that time. So at any rate, I went down to the Mexico Olympics, and I said, you know, if the Russians are kicking our pants off, they got to be doing something, and I want to know what it is. So I didn't know anything about, you know what, in those days. So I went out and I watched them, and they were doing all these gymnastic type exercises. They're jumping and bounding and leaping all over each other and carrying each other around on their shoulders and everything. And I'm thinking, whoa, that's interesting. So I asked them what they call that. And the coaches said, that's jump training. Makes sense to me. And so I came back to the United States, and track coaches here were starting to talk about this. And I started reading YISIS, the Soviet Sports Review, which is an interpreted version of the Russian publications. And I started to put together a little thing, and then a guy back in Iowa, a distance coach of all people, said, let's call that stuff plyometrics. I said, what the hell, what's plyometrics? Well, if you go back to the Greek, only a distance coach would think of this. If you go back to the Greek, it means measurable increases. So you're doing these exercises to reach measurable increases. And, well, that's great. That's fine. We'll call it plyometrics.
A lot of people send me their GPS data, try to make sense of it. Everybody's looks pretty much the same. Most of the work when you practice or play, so this is games, most of the work is going to be low velocity. And there's reasons for that. There's people in the way, I can't run that far, there's lots of plays or lots of continuous work going on, so I just can't get to high velocity. So in this example, 91 to 100% of max velocity is 1% or less of all work. And this isn't a game. And you'd say, well, it looks pretty fast out there. But relatively speaking, it's not. Most of the work is in the low intensity zone, which includes the walking and standing around. I wasn't sure if it was the guys from Baylor, but somebody said their highest velocities were from subbing people in. It wasn't actually from the game, which was interesting. And the same practices ended up being the same because everybody wants to be specific. So we're going to run the practice like we run the game. And unfortunately, you get the same result. And my takeaway from this was we cannot rely on practice or the games to address the signal qualities or the velocity qualities that I'm talking about. So, and I don't know if anybody tests, I doubt it if anybody tests. Coach, does anybody test athletes in the NFL on speed characteristics throughout the season? Does anybody run 40s or test anybody? No, absolutely not. And there's obvious reasons for that. One is you could hurt somebody and you lose your job. So we don't want that to happen. The other part of it is, I think if you did it, you find that people are getting slower throughout the season, and it's the team that slows the least, or they have other abilities beyond speed to compensate for that. That's active. So let's learn a skill. Or you see something happen in a training session where they're running, something fall, their hip falls, or their arm's in the wrong position. Let's use a drill to fix that and then reinsert them into the run. The most important thing is you want them to run properly. You can't just do the drills in isolation. I like working back and forth, and that's what he's doing in the reactive situation. So like I said, you want to strengthen athletes in a function that will be of use to them. So again, this was Carly's consideration. And what this told me was that you have to work to what their abilities are. The technique must fit their physiological capability. So if they don't have strength, you're doing marching in. On the lane line and working on the tracking, everything should come to center line but not cross. You can do it in front of the mirror, you can do it seated just to focus on arms. If you have some strength, skipping could be useful. If you have significant strength, the bounding, running A's with good technique, full height can be used. But you can't just throw drills at people and hope that it works. You have to look at what their capabilities are.